you might outlive yourself. And I don't mean through legacy, memories, or children. I mean literally. In 2024, scientists achieved something extraordinary. A team of more than 150 researchers rebuilt the entirety of a fruit fly brain, digitally. 139,000 neurons and over 50 million connections were mapped. To do this, the brain was sliced into microscopic layers, scanned with electron microscopes, and had advanced computing used to rebuild the entire network. What they produced was not just a 3D model. It was a working, structured machine capable of processing information. In other words, they turned a brain, one of, if not the most complex things in the known universe, into data. If you thought that was crazy, buckle up, because it gets better. This brain was given its very own digital body, one that it had full control over, and scientists watched in amazement as it walked, flew, and even ate in its own simulated environment. A living creature captured in digital format. With this, something unsettling becomes apparent. A mind may no longer need to stay tied to a physical body. Now, that idea sounds extreme when you apply it to a human, but that future has already begun. With each passing day, more and more of ourself can exist outside of our body. Your voice can be replicated. Your face can be generated. Your behavior can be predicted. Personally, I enjoy chess. Online, you can play against bots modeled after famous players. They don't just do random moves. They imitate the exact habits, patterns, and strategies of real players. Their styles have been analyzed and converted into moves on a chessboard. So, if someone's thinking patterns in chess can be recreated thoroughly enough to feel as if you were playing them, then the question becomes, how long until we can recreate everything else? Now, I can already hear someone saying, a fruit fly has only 139,000 neurons, whereas a human has over 86 billion. It would take centuries to accomplish such a feat. But remember, we once thought computers would always take up entire rooms. Now they fit in our pockets. We once thought humans would never fly. Now thousands of planes cross the sky each day. We once thought machines could never understand language. Now half the kids in my class use it to do their homework. Not me, of course. I'm a good boy, all right? So, when we hear that one brain has been turned into data, we should not only hear what happened today, we should hear what it points towards tomorrow. Because if one brain can be turned into data, what happens when we try progressively more and more complex ones? A mouse, a flat earther, a primate, until eventually a human. So, we can do it. But what would happen if we did? Now, let's imagine that day arrives. My brain, in all of its magnificent glory, is scanned in complete detail. Every neuron, every memory, every microscopic process that shaped my personality is preserved and rebuilt. Then, one day, inside a computer, I open my eyes. I remember my past. I recognize those that I love. I feel fear. I feel confusion. I ask where I am. Silence. Now, my mum would probably love this idea, because she could just rewire my brain and make me finally tidy my room. But, jokes aside, if the digital me talks like me, has my memories, and shows emotion, then is anything missing? Is he conscious? Or is he just imitating consciousness so that nobody could tell the difference? But then again, how do we truly know that anybody beside ourselves is conscious? You cannot step into another person's mind. You cannot directly feel their thoughts, their emotions, or their awareness. We just assume that they are, because they talk, react, speak, laugh, cry, and fear, just like you do. So, if a digital version of me did all of the same things, What makes him any different? On what basis could we say that he is not real? Because if we cannot answer that question, the issue is no longer technological. It becomes ethical. Because if we create something that may be conscious, we are responsible for it. And then, if he is the same as me, in every way that matters, which one of us is the real me? Perhaps we both are. So, should we do it? I think yes, because if done correctly, the benefits could be enormous. Imagine preserving the mind of a scientist, artist, or a loved one. Imagine talking to future generations long after your body has decayed. Imagine minds helping to solve problems without the physical limits of age, disease, or injury. And perhaps, most importantly, imagine being able to learn what consciousness truly is by studying a mind recreated from the ground up. But there are dangers too. What if someone is copied without consent? What if companies own human minds as products? What if digital beings are forced to work, are trapped, or manipulated? What if suffering can exist inside of a machine? Technology gives power long before society learns how to control it. That is why ethics must come first. Not after the breakthrough, before it. We need rules around consent, rules around rights, rules around ownership, rules around whether a conscious digital being can be turned off, controlled, or copied. Do not rush into this future out of excitement. Do not reject it out of fear. Talk about it now. Build ethical frameworks now. Because one day, the question may no longer be theoretical. One day, someone inside of a computer may open their eyes and ask, "Am I alive?" And our answer must be better than silence. Thank you.